Whew, has it been hot here. It is really too hot to be out here for any length of time, so I've been filling my time in the garden with smaller tasks, and one of those tasks is cutting back some of the spring and summer flowers, perennials to be exact. And here is a hill that is Siberian irises, and they have not bloomed for years because they're overcrowded, but that's okay because they still earn their keep, and I'll tell you why. So if you're looking to grow blooms, this might be too early to cut them back, but like I said, the last 2 years the blooms have been disappointing. So I decided to cut these back. It looked like kind of messy greenery. It wasn't quite dying yet, but I thought it could be better used as chopped up mulch, and I'll show you where I put that. I chopped up the foliage and laid it all out as a mulch on this bed that's right next to the polytunnel where I have tomatoes and artichokes and chives. I've also planted some corn seeds to try to get a little bit more biomass and get the soil broken up a bit. If I get corn, that's just icing on the cake, but that's not why I planted it. I wanted to use the leaves for more mulch later on. But in the meantime, I've used the foliage from the irises that I cut back over here to shade the ground. And that's really important in the hot summer. So if you don't want to go out and buy 3 bags of mulch, look around and see if any of your perennials need to be cut back. And you can kind of do a double duty here. I've given this bed something it needs, and I've neatened up the bed where the messy foliage for the iris was. That makes me very happy. It's going to be a lot cooler for those roots, and the plant won't dry out as much. And I think it's going to look neater in the end because it'll suppress some weeds as well as shade that soil. Here is an area where I had some early blooming daylilies, and I enjoyed the blooms that came up, and the foliage was looking worse for wear. We've had a really bad heat spell, and every afternoon it looks like it's going to rain. We get thunder, and then we seem to be on the edge of the storm and we don't receive a single drop. So some of the things that I don't water are daylilies because they're so hardy. They hold their own. But their foliage does look kind of tattered in the heat of the summer, particularly after they've bloomed. So I decided to use the foliage, chop it back, and believe me, this will grow back vigorously, especially once we get a rain or two. So I'm not worried about chopping it so low to the ground. But I've used that foliage over here on a hydrangea that I transplanted, and it will now mulch the soil and eventually break down and give nutrients to the soil around those roots. And you know, every plant works hard to gather nutrients from the soil and make the plant grow, and you may as well take those nutrients and put them back into the soil. If you carry off all your debris, you're not adding back to the soil as much as your plants might be taking. So this is why I do it, and I just think it's a really good practice. It shades the soil, which gets really parched and almost cracked this time of year. So it benefits your plants, it feeds the soil and the plants, and I even put some over here. And this actually, I think, has a mix of daisy. I cut back some daisies, and I also cut back the daylily foliage I just showed you. So this is a mix of mulches, and it's going to do nothing but benefit this wonderful fig. Now this is not a practice I follow out front, and we don't have an HOA, but some people do. So this looks a little messy for a while, but believe me, it quickly breaks down in the summer heat and turns brown and pretty much blends into the soil. And you can always add it to the compost pile if you don't have an area that you don't think would benefit from mulching. Aren't these blackberry lilies gorgeous? These are called blackberry lilies because when they're finished blooming, they make blackberries. And I think that happens in these little pods. You end up with blackberries, and they spread really easily everywhere. But look at that, it's a beautiful, tall, bright pop of orange. So I love those. They've spread over here, and I have them in the front. And actually, I think these came from my neighbor's yard, probably via our shared bird population. This is an area where I chopped and dropped the Sweet William after it bloomed. I only left a few stalks up that still had blooms to leave those for the pollinators. But the plants have already died back in about a week to 10 days. You can't even tell that there was foliage there. But I know it's there, and because these plants make a lot of seed, it is helping give nutrients to the soil, and a little bit of shade, and helping those seeds not wash away. So as you can see, give it a week or two and you won't even know that you dropped stuff there, but your soil will. Here's a perennial I haven't gotten to yet. My daisies flushed out in beautiful blooms, and I cut a few for indoors, but now for the most part they've died back, and it's time to cut them back to about here. And in many places, I know around here, I can usually get a second flush of blooms when that happens. It will invigorate the plant, and it's going to make a lot more flowers for me later on. Kind of extends your bloom season to do this cutting back process midsummer or after they bloom. Can we just take a minute to appreciate these gorgeous black-eyed Susans that perform without any fuss throughout the heat of the summer? You can always count on black-eyed Susans, and this is actually our state flower here in Maryland. So I've always made sure to have some, and my friend Lori keeps giving me little baby plants, which I plant all over the property. And these I think she gave me 2 years ago, and they're just magnificent. And here are my front yard daisies, which I chopped back a couple days ago. I brought the foliage back around and put it around a tree where I wouldn't mind any of the seeds growing. That is a consideration when you chop it back and use it for mulch. You have to make sure that if any of those seeds sprout, it's an area you want to have flowers in, or an area that you can easily transplant your things. But already it's looking healthier, and it will send up new flowers and new foliage. And like I said, try to keep as much as your garden debris as you can. It's valuable nutrients. Don't give those great nutrients away. And before I go in to cool down, I just wanted to show you the side of my driveway. I featured this before, but the miscanthus grass are just incredible. They make this beautiful wall of grassy foliage, and they get no attention whatsoever. The boxwoods are also pretty carefree, as they're pretty mature, and then my salvia, including my new seedlings, are also pretty carefree. But I just wanted to finish with that really pretty view. And this side garden is something that I think has worked out really well and continues to perform beautifully. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope you're staying cool wherever you are.